If I told you that there was evil in the world, would you believe me? You'd be hard-pressed not to. Every day, the darkness of man shows its true colors. And quite frankly, it seems the last few years, the world and worlds beyond it have been bound in turmoil. Since the dawn of mankind, the concept of demons has roamed our darkest pits of our imaginations. Beings responsible for atrocities beyond modern man's comprehension, beyond the comprehension of sanity. Many may try to ignore these stories as figments of the imagination to explain horrible events that have plagued mankind's history. But even those trained to ignore the mystical and fantastic have started to take a moment to reconsider their options. For evil has shown its true colors. However, there is one being that seems to be the most active, who is the most creative in its methods to torture the common man, to plague those already in the deepest pits of despair, taunting them, perhaps even in some cases, orchestrating their demise. I've dealt with such a being. I have known him for most of my life. He has tried to kill me on a few occasions, and even taken the souls of those I care for the most. Trust me when I say that I wish I was making this up. That I was weaving some horrendous tale to taunt the imaginations and fascinations of my audience. Believe me, I wish this were the case. Times of great change are ahead. But in order to make sure those changes remain, we have to acknowledge the darkness and its influence upon our lives to become something better. That is why I must warn you of this tale. Simply speaking about it, simply hinting at it, has threatened lives, targeted children, tormented women, and slaughtered men for nearly as long as mankind has been on this earth. And for some reason, I was one of its targets, and quickly became the subject of its nightmares. The year was 1999. It was November. I was only 3 years old when it first appeared, lurking in the shadows of one of the earliest instances where I was forced to fight for my life. I was staying over at my father and stepmother's house, sitting in the living room, watching TV with my baby sister. Lurking in the shadows, swore I could feel something, watching. I just assumed it was my stepmother, who came up and grabbed my little sister to take her to the other room. At the time, I simply assumed it was to make sure she went to bed. It was getting fairly late that night. Growing up, it didn't take much to get me distracted. Simply turn on a TV and I could zone out for hours. As I got back to watching cartoons that were on, I soon felt this sharp pain in the back of my neck. My stepmother stabbed me with a ballpoint pen. Something I've only disclosed to a few people was that in the moment I felt that pain, I swear I could feel time stop. This being cloaked in shadow approached me, covered me within its body, and seemingly transported me somewhere. Where? I don't know. But there was this being who stood before me, easily over 10 feet tall. His skin was covered in orangish scales, like some kind of lizard. His aura seemed evil. His eyes were not human. They were wide towards the sides of his face. And they looked down upon me like I was his next meal. He approaches closer to me, kneeling down to my eye level. Says, Dakota, I want to help you escape, but I need you to work for me. Its muscles protruded. Its face seemed elongated. There was no way this thing was human. It offered me a deal to help me fight back against my father and stepmother. In return, I had to offer it my soul, my servitude. Somehow, another voice screamed, another man, simply saying, Dakota, fight back. The next thing I remember, I was screaming. I swung something towards the being, smashing it upside the head. As he yelled, I was brought back to my stepmother's place, and I continued to yell, realizing my stepmother was the one who tried to hurt me, to bring me to that thing. I screamed at her, what are you doing? What the fuck is wrong with you? She simply looked and smiled. She was compromised. It wouldn't have taken much. She had issues with LSD. It would have been easy for some being to take over her, to influence her. One could argue that was how she met my father, by letting something influence her decisions. My stepmother challenged me, saying, oh, you want to fight back? Grabbed me by my wrist and dragged me into the kitchen where she put a 6-inch butcher knife in my hand, repeating, you want to fight back? Come on, stab me. Do it. You do it. At first I begged her not to do this, but as she kept pushing me, my anger took over, and I pinned her to the floor. The next thing I remember seeing was my little sister watching the entire ordeal. My father walking in, just barely getting off from work. Realizing what was happening, he grabs my little sister, takes her to another room, gets me off of his wife, locks me in another room until police arrive. My mother and grandmother tried to help me talk to the police, voice who were just ignoring every word. My grandmother, my mother's mom, was the one to point out the ballpoint pen mark on the back of my neck. The officers wouldn't listen at all. Needless to say, I was taken away from my father and stepmother. Everyone was ordered to court-mandated therapy to try to figure out what was going on, only for the therapist to quickly discover that my father and stepmother were the ones trying to orchestrate the entire ordeal. Custody was rewarded to my mother for full time for myself. However, my sister was left with them. That being would emerge on several occasions, seemingly trying to make contact. But it never could come through until I was 14 years old. Once again, my father's actions, my father's influence, corrupted my world. When I learned that for the past 7 years, he had been sexually assaulting my younger sister, the same one who watched me stab her mother. When I learned about this, naturally, this affected my emotional state, opening the door for this being to walk right through and try to offer me a very similar deal. Work with me and I will take care of your father. I screamed at him to get out, but he promised he would come back, and he had tried to emerge on several occasions. Fast forward to the year 2020. The pandemic began, and though I was deemed an essential employee and was able to still go to my 9 to 5, I had started to take up other interest, being that there were growing reports of a very similar cloaked man with a wide-brimmed hat appearing. People had tried to toss theories all over the place that he was the devil himself, that he was some government, part of some secret government program, that he was an alien, that he was some demon, that he was some mix of all three. But the truth was so much more surprising. I was going into making a documentary about this being, going into my research when I was directed towards Breton mythology, coming from France, towards the Ankou, which, for those of you who don't know, essentially a form of Grim Reaper that sometimes appear as a bone-thin man with a wide-brimmed hat and a long cloak. One of the theories about this thing was that it was none other than the firstborn son of Adam and Eve, Cain, the world's first murderer. A wild claim, of course, but then certain matters started to fall into place. Towards the end of April 2020, beginning of May, I received a phone call from a hotline I had set up. A father was trying to help his family escape some sort of infestation. He had disclosed on the phone that his main concern that the beings in question seemed to be targeting his then 3-year-old son. With the mention that a child was caught in the crossfire, I had no choice but to take the call. The family was prepping to move across country to stay with family members until they could get settled in a new state. They were so afraid of this thing. I sat with the father for a 3-hour interview, using my whiteboard to take notes of various indicators that would point me in the direction of this thing. When I would ask how long this thing has been around, He mentioned it was long before him and his wife got together. That he had dealt with this thing since he was in his 20s. He was trying to make him a deal. This being was offering to take care of the father. In return, he would have to become a general for his army. Speeding through the details, as naturally, certain things I must withhold in order to respect the privacy of all involved, especially with children in the mix. When I realized that it was clear this being was trying to establish some sort of rapport with my client, I asked if they'd ever given him a name to establish trust. Soon the father gave me something that would honestly surprise me to my very core. Little did I realize that this case was connected to something I had been researching, something I had been hunting. The name this being gave the man was Cain. Suddenly everything made sense. Cain was taking this form of a man with a wide-brimmed hat and a long cloak, changing it slightly throughout history, adapting to the world around him, to not just torment souls, but to build an army, to bring about hell on earth. As with most myths and legends, one can expect the story to change with time, the story to have some sort of natural variance, depending on where you hear it from. One of the variations of the story of Cain and Abel, Cain murdering his younger brother Abel over God's favoritism. One of the variations stated that the serpent in the Garden of Eden was Cain's true biological father, not Adam. And that Adam may have unknowingly mistreated Cain because he knew of Cain's true parentage. This ultimately left Cain to self-loathe, and possibly Abel being a snooty younger brother, realizing, maybe even subconsciously, there was a level of favoritism. Cain eventually snapped and took his own brother's life. This was the theory. When I told the father what was going on, I immediately had to calm him down. He wasn't familiar with biblical stories. However, in the interest of maintaining full transparency of what is going through my mind, I told him that was the prevailing theory. And that he was doing the right thing in getting his family out of there. We continued the conversation, and suddenly, from the background of his end of the phone call, I hear a voice of what sounds like a 5-year-old, maybe 6-year-old little boy saying, "Put down that fucking phone or I will kill you, bitch." The voice was clear as day. My father didn't hear it. I immediately had to interrupt him on the spot because he heard it. Earlier in the call, he had sent me his wife and his son's plane tickets to prove that they were already out of the house and the full country away. It was only him left behind to help take care of some last-minute move preparations. and to transport his pets across the country, who were the only ones in the house with him. He stated that as he was talking to me, he walked by this particular room in his house that his wife would call the dead room. Anybody who would walk into it would immediately feel dizzy, feel sick, as if something was draining the energy from them through the floor. It was quite possible that some kind of portal was open in that house. I reiterated to the father he was doing the right thing and getting him to move, and that after we were done with the phone conversation, I was going to send him materials that would help him create blocks. He also expressed his concern. The reason why he started to reach out in the first place was because Cain had suddenly started to take an interest in his young son, who, I reiterate, was only 3 years old at the time. I explained that it was likely possible that his son had some natural abilities when it comes to, like, psychic powers. I asked if he knew of any of his family members who had such abilities. Maybe from his mother's side, where that seemed to be the most prominent. To his recollection, he had no family history. He also shared that he wasn't exactly well in contact with his family. So I began to ask him if his son had had any head injuries, or if the father himself had messed around with any drugs or anything like that. The father immediately began to panic, as if I was prying for information that would entail a call to social services. I calmed him down, saying that these things weren't guaranteed. There was obviously no way I could prove if a child was being abused, which I genuinely believed he wasn't. I recognized the fear in his voice. I knew it was of someone who had fought hard to try to prevent cycles from being repeated. Something I related to pretty quickly. I assured him that I was simply meaning if his son, jumped off the back of the couch one day and nobody was there to catch him. No one realized what he was doing until they started hearing him cry. Simple mistakes like that. It was also likely that the child would outgrow, for lack of a better word, the abilities. They would seem to disappear over time. But I also made sure to express to the father that it was not guaranteed. There was a good chance that puberty would reignite the boy's abilities if he had any. Or, the example I gave at the time was he decided to play football in high school and took a blow to the head. It's been known to happen. Cain had, for some reason, taken on an interest towards young children. The prevailing theory I had before all of this went down was that he was a being that simply targeted individuals already at a low point in their life, tormented them, and did nothing more. After this, I came across several other instances, including a number of individuals who had claimed to overdose on Benadryl in order to see this being for themselves. But there was something more. The trauma-based influence was a marker for psychic ability. Because naturally, not everybody who went through some low points in their life has any recollection of seeing this thing. So why did only certain people become targeted? December of 2020, I joined an international group of paranormal investigators. I quickly rose to the ranks. We had come across a case where this being that I believe to be connected to Kane had emerged, and there was active research done upon it. In order to draw attention to the company to try to gain funding, we did regular YouTube live streams. These live streams would often go for hours on end, with seemingly no point behind them. The weekend of February 14th, that all changed. And instead of hearing all of this from me, I'm going to play you an audio tape of what happened, hiding the voices and the names of everyone who was involved to protect their privacy. Had I not seen this incident, I wouldn't have believed it for myself. Had I not been a part of it, had I not been the catalyst for one of the worst attacks I had ever seen in this life by supernatural means, I would think you were trying to pitch me a horror movie. But sometimes reality is stranger than fiction.
To markets, it's all about put it in a headline.
Dakota, what do you think? But mainly, if someone thinks they are in,
I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, like I said, it's different stories, but comes up to the same thing. A lot of people are.
it's just honestly, what is good to say that's something very interesting.
Why is the camera off? Do you know where he?
I don't know where he is.
This is so strange.
My dog is going berserk now.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's looking everywhere in every corner. He's like, oh. Where is he? Find him.
Come and get me.
You hear him? His heart is pounding like hell.
And just so we know, I've actually started rolling on digital recorder on my end, just in case. Eyes went really big there. Obviously, she doesn't do that just because she feels like it. She usually does that because she's picking up on something.
This is really.
This is super strange. I've never experienced anything like this before. This is unreal.
See, it's talking now. There's a conversation. That was 207:40.
No, that feedback, that dark muffling noise, that's coming from me because that was the issue from yesterday. Because it goes when one of us talks and when one of us stops.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So I think it might actually be it's got to be from one of your feeds giving feedback.
So let's do a mic check again. I'll go silence for you for just a second.
1, 2.
You pointing at me? Pikachu?
Is that better?
That's
Yeah.
that's good
Yeah.
now. We don't hear the
Yeah,
echo.
If
yeah,
I
it's
turn
gone.
down my volume.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Can you hear me
Bizarre.
at all?
This is
Yeah.
like,
But I'd still like to know where the heck Chris went.
I don't know. Say, can somebody get me?
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. Does that make the sound any better?
I don't hear it. No, it's starting back again.
I don't know really what's going on with the sound.
I don't know, but it's definitely coming from your side.
Okay, I'm gonna mute.
I don't know what. Okay. Yo, what's going on, man? Anybody else get a message from
No, I haven't yet. And by the way, with Rev muted, there is no
Jesus.
background noise when one of us talks. We're
Lex
just,
said he doesn't want to alarm everyone, but my neck is burning and he's coughing up blood.
what?
Oh.
Okay.
Lex just messaged me saying he's got burned again and he's coughing up blood.
So,
He just messaged me on Twitter.
wow. That is crazy. Absolutely crazy.
I have the shivers
That's
from head to toes.
Yeah.
I'm freaking frozen.
And you're wearing a sweater too.
I have two sweaters on. I have two sweaters on. And I'm fucking freezing like I was outside in the freaking cold. Okay? And my body is from the toes to the head.
Okay, well,
Hmm.
heard me say it, but through that entire time, I was actually rolling on digital recorders. So
You're good?
yeah,
I'm good.
she's got her mic muted, so that's why.
Are you good?
Oh,
I'm talking to you, man.
Me?
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm
you-
good. I just got a cold shiver. I'm actually going to grab the K2 to see if we have something. Let's have a little look here. No, I don't think you're going to be able to see
I'm
it.
gonna don't put it too close to
No.
the computer. It's gonna. I don't know if you see. I don't know if you see mine. I opened mine.
yeah, yours is fine.
I'm not getting anything.
What's going on with here? You want to unmute for a sec?
Oh, it's not going to show you.
You okay?
Something's got her.
Okay.
Something's got her.
Oh.
Something's got her.
Who growled?
It's like the only thing growling good part of my man is I got his SV7 going. Let go.
Okay. Wasn't really expecting any activity tonight.
No.
This is
Negative.
yeah.
Negative energy. Yeah.
Let's take 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Let's take a halt on whatever's going. We're gonna do a freaking prayer. We're gonna try to
Yeah, let's have a little
Everybody
prayer.
in the chats, everybody in the chat that wants to
Hang on,
join us.
Dakota. You good?
Dakota, man. Shake it off. Shake it off, man.
Turn it off. It's gonna go off.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Jesus Christ.
We're gonna ask everybody in the chat, please bear with us. If you can.
Yeah.
Take a minute to with us. We're gonna do a prayer. We're gonna try and help our colleagues that are affected with this. Man, I'm out of words. My mouth is like.
I don't even know what. I've never experienced anything like this before.
That was. Where was the growl? The growl must have been coming through the. I think since we just started the subject UFO, we got some really bad
I was
stuff.
going to say that's really creepy.
I was about to ask, does somebody have a YouTube page open?
No, I don't.
No.
That's strange.
It is. Perhaps it's, Brandon landing back down on Earth. I don't know.
We'll just see an alien behind me.
Yeah.
I swear, if you get abducted right now,
I'm like,
just tell them to come over to Blue Ridge. I want to go with you. So.
Why not? Here's a good question then. Why not a dinosaur? Alligators are dinosaurs. Well.
Don't ask. Why we don't think it's kind of quiet.
That is really spooky.
I know.
Anybody hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Blood sugar.
It reminds me of the old dial-up internet.
Oh, you remember that? Oh my god.
I'm old enough to know that came into being.
Wow.
But no, I don't think the Loch Ness Monster is a dinosaur. I don't think there's dinosaur remnants still floating around. Now, for one interesting theory is about Loch Ness, especially, is that there are portals that pop on and off in Loch Ness that allow that time portals pop on and off in Loch Ness that allow some of these things to pass through into our time and go back to their time through. So I know that's really reaching out there with that, but it's always a possibility if you want to go the dinosaur route. But I really do believe that, like you're saying, that it's something that's evolved in that loch. Something that's natural to this world and natural for this time. And we see it when it wants us to see it.
That static is sounding like there's someone trying to send a message through there. It's really.
Yeah, it sounds like heavy breathing.
There's EVPs in there.
Just to let everybody know, you might want to check for EVPs because some really weird shit happens at my house. So.
Oh, that might explain it. It does sound like a spirit box session, yeah.
Welcome to the Naked Bigfoot life.
So this is about the time where we're going to test everyone's mic to find out where it's coming from.
Yeah.
So let's have a quick test now. So,
We think we found it.
I think we found it.
Oh
Yeah,
shit,
but-
it's me.
Yeah, we found it.
Oh shit, it's me, isn't it?
It seems as if something is trying to come through. It's really odd.
This has happened before, and if Papa Joe's on there, he knows what I'm talking about. It's happened before.
Oh, wow. It sounds like heavy breathing.
Yeah.
Like,
On walkie-talkie.
wow.
I'm all alone in the room. Except for my plot point, I mean my plants.
I mean, you know, you never know what you're going to get on a live, I guess, and I guess we're trying to get an EVP coming through somehow.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Weird sound. It is.
The little girl that traveled with me, she's probably pissed off that I'm having this conversation.
Oh. Wow. So, let's welcome our new viewers. Dusty, nice to see you. What the Paranormal, thank you for coming.
Hey, what?
Alan's vlog here as always. Nice to meet you. Through the bell, all good. Mo, big support. So,
Yes. So sorry.
sorry, did I wake you up?
I'm working for you. I'm doing things for you.
So,
Are you okay? Hey, knock it off.
I just got back from the hospital yesterday, so I'm sorry, guys.
oh,
It's all good. It's all good.
Knock it off.
I thought I took enough pills, but I
oh.
Knock it off.
So here we go. There is voices coming through in that static.
That's what it sounds like.
It does.
Oh, rubber's head. Okay. Here you go, Mike.
Yeah.
Well, I was smacking him a minute ago to tell him to knock it off. Now they want me to rub your head. Here you go.
okay,
Now you better.
I was about to say something really naughty when you said
Hey,
that.
nah.
Penis.
Wrong.
We're going to keep it clean. Well, clean anyway.
What were you gonna ask?
I can't remember now.
Perfect.
Sorry.
By the static.
When this finishes, we need to talk.
Okay.
It's going to be very, 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 very important.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Did I do something this time?
No.
What?
I said, I didn't expose any part of my body.
No. It's well, it has something to do with you, but yeah.
On the static, yeah.
It's not Carl, is it?
Eh?
No.
It's not Carl.
There we go. They're talking here.
Yeah, they are.
Could be. Check that out. Thank you.
So, Kona, get your ass on panel, please.
So,
I was going to ask you something, but it's completely gone. Sorry. But I do want to get your opinion on Bigfoot and Loch Ness. What are your thoughts on that?
No, I haven't. I have no opinions. Are they real? I believe so. Have I done any research personally? No. Do I trust the judgment of the people on the panel? Yes. Would I like to see it with my own eyes? Absolutely. Who wouldn't? You know?
Yeah.
Is there stuff talking to us? Yes.
Yeah.
That's really
Let's
weird.
just say that much.
Guys, I'm sorry about this. This is me.
Why are you sorry? Don't be sorry.
That's
This
our
is amazing.
daily. That's our daily thing. So don't worry about nothing.
Oh,
You're
it is.
good, man. That's
Yeah.
that's awesome. So yeah.
It is. We deal with strange things.
That sounds so freaky.
Really freaking.
It's actually beautiful out here. It's our farm, like I said, is about 200 acres. It extends into the Blue Ridge Mountains.
That must be a nice view morning time.
It really is. I mean, it really is. And the farmhouse is the original farmhouse. It's been here for, like I said, over 100 years.
See, now your boys came back and they did all the shebang and back stuff.
Mm-hmm. Shebang in the back. That's a good one.
Well, I asked these spiritual ass monkeys that usually follow me to back off, so.
Wow.
As these incidents took place, I was in the middle of recording a documentary titled Bonds of Beyond, now available on Bonkers TV. This is the segment I filmed directly after this incident took place.
I'm just getting ready to leave Coeur d'Alene. I came up here to hopefully catch some things for the show, but something else entirely happened. Something that I'm honestly still trying to process. Long story short, there was an attack. My team and I were trying to do a live stream online just to talk about some of our operations, and one by one we got picked off. Something we were hunting was hunting us back. I don't know how to process it. I've had theories that something like this was possible, but to see it unfold, it's completely mind-boggling. So, I just don't know. To be honest, there was somebody I was hoping to see while I was up here, someone who I haven't seen in a few years, but after that happened, it's probably for the best, you know? I don't want her getting hurt.
My name is Dakota Franson.
I'm sorry, I'm just...
I want to speak to the gentleman. Can I speak to the... Why are you haunting us? Why? Why are you... Why are you hurting people? want you to listen to me, and you listen good. We will come for you. You hurt anybody? You hurt any of my team? We will come for you, and you will not like what comes of it. I'm gonna give you a chance. Back off. The Necrophonic is a spirit box app that anybody can get their hands on. I honestly didn't know about it until I joined. It certainly became interesting when the attack took place. I mean, this thing started by hitting members in the UK. Why it chose that, I don't know. Maybe it saw an opening. I was the first one to realize that something was going on. Activity had been taking place. While my friend that was first attacked was in the UK, I'm in the US. I was the one he reached out to when he started coughing up blood. Shortly after that, another member started reporting that she was feeling choked, losing air, and had a shadow visitor. Then finally, the brunt of the attack. The figure showed itself to a member located in Canada just before the possession took place. It may have been possible to take him on right then and there, had the individual's children not been in the room. The recording from the Necrophonic app took place the morning of the attack. This thing was planned. I have a rough idea of what it is, of why it did what it did, but I need to go deeper. Because this showed things that still completely baffle me. In case any of my team members, my friends, are seeing this, I'm sorry. But being the fact that this thing isn't afraid to attack children, in fact it makes a point to attack children, I can't walk away. And you can see it for yourself. This thing was afraid of me. Why? I don't know. Maybe it's the fact that it seems like I have heaven on speed dial. More work's to be done in this case. But in regards to what I'm putting together right now, here, in this moment, this attack offered up a glimpse into something that I've been wondering about. Spirits, UFOs. All things considered, I honestly can't tell if it opens up innovation or annihilation. It honestly feels weird going back over through that footage, knowing how everything unfolded. Within a matter of days, even more startling revelations started to come forward. It was clear that this thing that attacked us, it opened some doors, for lack of a better word. Made it so other beings could come in, intervene. Within a 2-week time frame,
I dug deeper into whatever materials I could get my hands on, monitored those who were affected the worst, because the changes that unfolded were heartbreaking. 2 had to seek medical help, because afterwards, conditions that may have already been pre-existing at the point seemed to be agitated by this thing. Infighting started to break apart the group I was with. Wouldn't be much later, that I would understand the full scope of why. A mix of mental health, criminal allegations, and simple personality clashes. And unfortunately, the criminal allegations had too much evidence to ignore. Within the coming weeks, certain members started to disclose that there was other business. A woman whose home and whole community was practically shut down and froze due to a hurricane. She reported that she had babysitters, other beings who looked exactly like the entity with long cloak and wide brim hat, watching her, taunting her. The gentleman who was coughing up blood had sensations of uneasiness and reported some heightened sleep paralysis. The gentleman who got attacked the worst got possessed. He reported to me perhaps something the most interesting, that there was a little girl he kept seeing. And upon this little girl showing herself, his condition started to improve. When he shared with me this story, I couldn't help but shake the feeling that I knew something about it. He described this little girl that appeared to be about the age of 5 or 6, blonde hair, and almost wore kind of a Japanese schoolgirl looking type of outfit. You would only see her in dream state. However, he would show pictures with interesting manifestations he claimed was the little girl. There was a nudge in the back of my mind that I had to act on. That it was my daughter. This was before I managed to get enough information to use artificial intelligence to render her photo. So I did the next best thing. One of my uncles, my mom's brother, he and I get mistaken as each other all the time. We have very similar mannerisms, very similar facial structure, way we carry ourselves. The main difference between him and me is that he can grow better facial hair and I'm taller. My uncle has 3 kids who not only look like they could be my own, but they also noticed that I carried so much of a resemblance to their father that they all, still to this day, will occasionally call me Dad. That's kind of a slip. They start to get to roughhousing a little bit. I can use their father's voice to get them to calm down. I dug out a photo of my uncle's twin daughters. They were not even a year old in it, but it was the first one I can get my hands on. And just on a whim, I showed the gentleman the photo. To make a long story short, had he not worn glasses, his eyes probably would have popped out of his skull from how shocked he was. His exact words were, "They look a little older, but that looks just like him."
My uncle's twins, I should clarify, are fraternal, not identical. If you were to put them next to the younger picture of my daughter would look like a long-lost triplet. I even followed up with the gentleman by bringing out another photo of my uncle's twin girls, them a little older and closer to the age he was describing the girl he was being visited by. He freaked out. He had a hard time understanding why I was able to bring out those photos so clearly, even though those little girls are still alive and well today. I explained to him the situation, and it blew his mind. A woman who had to seek mental health help also disclosed that she was being visited by a young girl. The only difference was that she was aware of the story of my daughter and messaged me directly saying, "I think I just saw Olivia." She was with a separate group herself that often recorded a podcast. One day, during our usual conversations, she sent me a sound clip from a session they recorded of what sounded like a very tired little girl calling out for mommy. They didn't notice it at first while they were recording, but when the main producer behind the show started editing the clip, he noticed that something was off. Because she had been seeing things and had a visitation of my daughter beforehand, they sent me the audio clip to verify. The second I heard her voice, I honestly started crying. I recognized her right away. But in that clip, perhaps unintentionally, perhaps not, it also got me to thinking. This woman that sent me the clip, was my daughter, Olivia, calling her mom? Or was she with someone else? Someone that couldn't be seen or heard at the time? Someone who was teaching her how to use any abilities she may have had. Going off on a whim, I found a photo of the woman through her social media accounts, one that had her face looking more directly into the camera, and utilized an artificial intelligence program known as FaceApp. I altered a few features to make the resulting image look closer to the age, added baby fat, widened the eyes a bit, and without telling her my exact process, I sent the woman results to see what happens. If that was in fact the little girl she was seeing. Not even 10 seconds go by, I get a reply saying, "Dakota, that's her." My daughter was showing herself. Fast forward a few months to when I met a medium friend of mine. Showed her that image, as well as explained the story. My medium friend, her first words, what she said after looking at the photo, was that my daughter looked Pleiadian. She also recommended that I look into the CE5 protocols by Dr. Stephen Greer to try to establish contact, thinking that something may emerge. Needless to say, she was right. While these attacks took place, I utilized a sigil that I designed myself to help establish protection. I utilized the opportunity to basically field test to see how it would react in genuine supernatural attack circumstances, for lack of a better word. The sigil worked taking inspiration from the CE5 protocols, I designed a tone frequency utilizing sonification, a process that renders images into sound, to turn the sigil into a repeating sound frequency with the intent to make it to where people could fight off some of the worst supernatural threats by playing a song on their phone. This is that frequency. This story is not over. A part 2 will come forward very soon. However, as some of you know, ever since I have had the privilege of meeting Elena Denon, things have amplified in ways that I'm barely learning how to process. And ever since her book, The Cedars, came out, and she named one of my ancestors as a direct descendant of Enki in her research, things have started to fall more into place. However, recent collaborative efforts indicated that there's so much more to the story. And it is something that I have to investigate further. Because, well, let's just say, the process of understanding it all is becoming a novel in itself. I will do my best to keep things updated on my findings of my personal encounters, as well as give updates on what I'm able to through recent visitations. I know you may not believe me, but this is my story and I'm sticking to it. Because I also know, through both my own encounters, the fact I've been able to gather up evidence and corroboration through some of the most brilliant individuals I have had the privilege to meet, that I'm onto something. And those of you who try to stir up a fight, just remember, I'm usually too damn stubborn to back down. And because you are so emotionally charged, so eager to cause hate and division, that you don't actually think about what you say, you reveal so much more than you realize. I'll be seeing you.